Well, did you end up having any comments about the email I sent to Gary and Doug?
No, sorry, mate. I thought you'd sent it first time around, and yesterday I just didn't get a chance to look at it.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. I got it, and David, he was, as always, he was very helpful with that. He's got a way with that stuff.
Sorry?
David's got a good way with that stuff, so I'm happy enough with his
He gave you some coaching, did he?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'll make sure I read it tomorrow. Probably.
I copied you on the actual one sent, so no point.
Yeah, no, I saw that yesterday. But yeah, the battery on PC.
And then we can have a look at a bit of a demo. But even before we get into that, is it worth us taking a moment just to understand from you what your current constraints are in the planning process at Dudley Park?
I suppose for us, e-plan, it works okay. It's just, what would I say? It's probably getting the demand file right for us is one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest issues. I mean, that's what we looked at Infor, but I've worked with that previously at Accolade, and Infor fed into advanced planning, and the solves were always a load of crap that took someone 6 hours manually to adjust after they were done, and then that became the production plan. So very keen to avoid that model here, given that it's a fairly simplistic operation. So I guess managing the demand file would be one of those things. And then just, from there, optimizing the planner.
Okay. All right, good. One of the things that the reason why we talk about replacing spreadsheets here is that to us it's one of the kind of key indicators that that the planning tools and the planning process aren't working as elegantly as perhaps you'd hope. But basically, for us, Excel offers a great way to get quick answers, but it's very much runs out of steam. You've got people trying to plan off system. What we find is it doesn't take long before complexity starts increasing. Your models get harder and harder to manage. We tend to we try different things or put more formulas in, but no one has the time or the inclination to go and take stuff out. So it's going to get a bit out of control. One of the biggest issues with Excel particularly, but in many DIY projects to do planning is that we tend to focus on the reacting area. In Excel, we don't know when a formula gets overwritten with a value, and in general we find that when people are building their own planning tools, that they tend to look at the next kind of couple of days to get themselves out of strike, but they're not looking far enough ahead. And you really need to, well, in my opinion, we want to be looking at get our focus away from tomorrow and start looking at what do we need to do in the coming weeks or months to avoid ourselves getting in the shit. And to me, one of the biggest things that happens when our businesses are when we start building our own systems or our own workarounds, we end up with our best people stuck on manipulating. You just mentioned it there. It takes 6 hours to manipulate a file that should have fed in. They tend to be the people who can actually conceptualize, get stuck doing these roles. And it's just such a horrible waste when they're the people you want actually focusing on solving the business problems before they hit the business. And instead they're left, flipping spreadsheets. It's just not, or CSV files. It's just a horrible waste of really talented people.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'll say some of the salesy stuff, but Fundamentally, we see our role in all of this is our role is really to make sure we can amplify the leverage of the supply chain team, make people look like little kings and ninjas. But the way that we work on that is, our view is we want to automate the tasks that simplify processes. I have an inherent concern about anything that's a black box automation, but if it's automating clerical tasks, I'm all for it. We need to, in my opinion, what we want to do in our job is to highlight choices and show you the consequences. So obviously, if we know the answer 100% of the time, then we can automate it. But if there's a choice to be made, the best thing we can do is clear your desk from the noise and clerical tasks and show you that there's decisions to be made and let you get on and make those decisions with the understanding of what each decision leads to. And that ultimately leads to making faster and more informed decisions. So one of the other things that we've been working really hard on in recent years is making sure that tools are really adaptable. So it's by design, they're very quick and easy for you to try different things. So we call it, basically we expect that you're going to make mistakes at times as you evolve, but it's important that we don't need to bet the farm on it or pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to try this or try that. Like you guys have been doing with changing the routings and the structure in your bombs in MS2 Pro. They've been hard and laborious, but hopefully you found that outside of working with that has been relatively minor. My wife thinks that profit is actually a spelling mistake, but it's born out of the notion that for me, supply chain systems should either help you make better decisions and therefore more money, or if it's about to hit the fan, it should give you as early warning as possible. So we've got every chance of avoiding the pending issues.
Yep.
Jump over some of this salesy stuff. I will touch on this for you. It's probably about 10 years ago now that we started working on what we call agile or next generation SOP. It struck me that one of the things when you've got to do capacity planning and SOP in spreadsheets, many times in many businesses, that can take weeks and weeks to pull that data together and get everyone in agreement. And you end up with the full money driving the spreadsheet. You end up at like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get the data ready for the next morning's SOP meeting. And it's really, really difficult sitting in Excel to remember if you, for example, does this model have overtime in it, or is this the one where I've increased the efficiency, etc. It can be really, really difficult to understand your assumptions. And when I start talking to people about, best practice now is to be able to run different scenarios, run like, for example, a high sales side, a low sales side, and rather than get FX exchange changes and get large orders from China, etc., etc. Being able to actually have some set plays in place where you know what happens before needing to go to another set play. If you know that if the exchange rate exists, our strategy is going to be to do Y. It immediately puts you on the front foot. But most people actually have palpitations when you start talking to them about the amount of time and effort it takes to get through a SOP process. So we spend a lot of time in making sure that forecasting and capacity planning is very quick and easy to run scenarios and to take the base SOP and run those different variants and run them at ground and then compare them.
Okay.
In terms of our whole suite, we'll be talking mainly about MPS, but I just did want to let you know we do have a forecasting tool. Our expectation is that flexibles are going to start phasing out Infor and start using this towards the end of the year. So they're going to pilot it. The cost of making minor changes in Infor is more than implementing our tools across the whole division. That's obviously confidential at this stage. You're inside Amcor, so I think that's okay. But yep. Forecast Manager is very light and easy tool to use, but designed particularly for the packaging industry. Rough cut, as the name suggests, is capacity planning. Profit optimization tool is for more established networks with multiple sites, and perhaps need the ability to dynamically load the plants based on their current, order profiles and who's got overtime available, etc. Cost of freight will dynamically load up the network based on what's going on at that time. I don't think that's the whole thing you need for you guys. MPS is our inventory optimization and master production scheduling. works used effectively in BMI and DRP. So it does have multi-S on inventory optimization capabilities and safety stock, customer service level capabilities to recommend stock levels. Peak planning, you well know, you guys use that. We now have a new tool called Orora stock, which is about optimization of replenishment. If you guys were to progress with MPS, you don't need Orora stock because you do replenishment in MPS as well for raw material. And production accordingly. We also have a dashboard for sitting across the top of these tools and taking the historical data out of MF3 Pro or SAP, whatever you're still using MF3 Pro on you.
So how does the Profit Progress one work? Is that based on work order completion or?
It tracks the shop floor counts, so it'll use production counts, but it pegs them against the work orders. It will do the work order closing for you if you want it to. So that can either be a positive closing at the work center, or it can just be a flag saying you've finished this work order now. You've overrun the work order. By accumulating counts of good product. And we've got the profit dashboard, which will take the forward projection of things like inventory and labour rates and so on and so forth, and forecast and capacity plans, and present them out to look at where your current plans, how it looks like you're going to be operating in the future, and feeds that against the historical data. So you've got a complete seamless backwards and forwards view of the world, and control towers for process compliance, where you've got a lot of people in your stock process. Again, not really relevant to you guys, but if you've got lots of sites or lots of people involved in the stock process, control towers great for making sure that, for example, engineering have updated maintenance binders and different sites have updated their chlorine or their seed blending requirements and so on, feeding capacity. Just a little bit more detail on these. Forecast Manager, it's really about solving collaboration, and that's why it's quite different from a lot of the tools that we saw in the marketplace. Were really designed for FMCGs, where Coles can't possibly talk to every customer that comes in the door to try and get a profile of what they might purchase, so they have to use stats. But in packaging, if you rely on stats, you're going to guarantee that we'll fill a warehouse full of obsolete stock, because last year's product will get superseded with label changes or hardware changes, and marketing will get involved, and basically or they'll start outsourcing or change the product that they want. And if you're not having a conversation with your customers, you won't know until it's too late. So the stats are still very useful in forecasting, but in packaging, where it's a heavy business-to-business relationship with a number of key customers, it's vital that we have a conversation happening regularly with those customers to make sure that we understand their forecasts and that we're keeping close to them. And Forecast Manager is really about solving that collaboration by making sure that things like the customer forecast is transparent. If we've had to intervene, we can clean up their forecast if it's not fit for purpose, or we can augment it with stats or other things if it's not far enough out. But we don't lose traceability about whose forecast is whose when we come to talking to them about forecast accuracy and having a regular use.
Okay.
Very powerful story, top down and bottom up capabilities. Right, do you guys do some sort of sales and operations planning at the moment, Tim?
Yeah, we run a pretty thorough S&OP process.
Excellent.
So I manage the demand side of that currently off system on a Excel spreadsheet, which is awesome. It's very good, but extremely fragile and prone to error. So if you do any slight thing wrong, also then for the planning side of it, I mean, Grace does all the S&OP deck for the main part, and that's a heavily manual process as well. It takes a few hours to get done.
Okay. All right. So given that you're one plant, and that's 7 or 8 integrated lines, largely integrated lines, and a couple of component lines, it's probably not the end of the world doing it that way.
Yeah. So I've just got a lot of feedback coming through on the line. Are you guys getting any of that?
I'm not getting it here. Rob, are you still on?
Yeah, there's a little bit. Do you want me to jump off for the moment because I'm on a mobile?
I'll just, yeah, maybe, Rob. Yeah, well,
Or you could just pop it on mute. Yeah.
I'll try and mute.
Yeah, I can mute you from here, mate. Okay. Okay, so MPS is really about making a decision about how much of each product to make. After we made our capacity decisions about, for example, in September or October, we might start pre-building. Do you do much pre-build, Tim?
Look, it's something I'm trying to get the company used to. Predominantly, they haven't, and are fighting pretty hard not to at the moment from the operations division. But as far as senior management, that's what we're pushing for.
Yeah, cool. Okay, and presumably the trade-off there is that you'll save on overtime if you pre-build on targeted stock levels of SKUs that don't change regularly and have a high take.
Yeah. One of the benefits for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that we see commonly in packaging is that even though packaging has a horrible kind of in average across all the packaging types that we support, there's in excess of 10, I think it's 12% supersession on products, and it comes largely from labelling requirements and marketing getting involved. So it is a business that you get a lot of, and obviously it's very specific, but I doubt that you will be at the pointy end of that 4%. But it makes people really, really nervous about stock. But the trade-off is there's normally a couple of SKUs, a couple of really A-class SKUs that have very high volume that you just sell reliably every month. I can imagine you can sell wines and other stuff like that have very high volume and wolf glasses and things where they're high volumes and they're always going to be sold and not going to change the labelling anytime soon. So you'd be able to keep the shoulder behind those and put some stock on the ground with a high confidence that it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So now look at something we've just got to make them feel a bit more comfortable with, but it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So where MPS really comes into its own is that firstly it helps you identify, also manage those make-to-stock items amidst the make-to-order items. And it doesn't matter if it's all make-to-stock or largely make-to-order, and you just have a few that you make-to-stock to. MPS handles that, and it's particularly powerful because it shows you the other constraints that are working on you. So it will show you things like the cost of your inventory on the current plan, whether you're going to have warehouse space constraints, whether you're going to have material to make your manufacturing plan, or whether you're going to have machine or crew capacity. And having all of this information available while you're trying to figure out how much to make if you make stock items, make orders are a no-brainer. We have to make those. But then when you layer on, maybe I've got 8 hours free next week on line 2. So which products can I make if I want to use that time? Which products can I make if I've got if I'm in stock build mode? I might want to make above the NRP required amount or requested amount. And this is where MPS is really, really potent for being able to do that trading out, figuring out which products you can run with or which products, if we haven't got enough capacity, we can run below the targeted stock coverage to get us out of trouble.
Yep, clever.
I'll give you an example on that. No point in telling you about ePlan, you know that one. Auto stock is still built on the MPS foundation that includes statistical forecasting capabilities inside the product and automatic ability to project some historical usage, and it will recommend whether you use forecast accuracy or base demand as your source for calculating how much safety stock to hold for given service of it. Very, very potent for working out your raw materials and how much to order and how much you need.
Yeah, spot on. Yep.
Excuse me, guys. Is the feedback better?
I'm not having any feedback problems. Timmy, is it better for you?
No, it seems to be whenever you're talking, Tim, there just seems to be this background noise coming through.
Oh. can do. I've got an alternative speaker that I can try. Just
Okay.
give me a sec. Settings. Okay, is that any better?
Oh, a million times.
I don't know why I've got my laptop closed and I was accidentally using my laptop microphone, which was closed. Not using my webcam one. Clicker array. Anyway, sorry about that. So what stock we covered? Progress is our shop floor production reporting, and it acquires data from the shop floor, whether it's through representations of the e-planner schedule, and planning can production can manually type what they've done at the end of the shift, or whether it's using counts off the machines going into the Prophit server, and it's automatically updating the counts and the production targets. So automatic data capture.
Okay, so would this integrate with a system like OFS or anything? Grab that data?
If you've got OFS already, Progress is a competitor to OFS. So
okay,
we would just have e-planner talking directly to OFS. Unless you're not happy with the reports, then you go for Progress. So there's no problem with getting data off OFS, but the reporting's okay. So
yeah, no, that's good. If that can talk to, that would plug a big gap for us.
Yeah, so it's common for us. Are you using the new web-based OFS?
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But definitely, whether we need Progress in between or whether we just go from e-planner to OFS, that link is really important that you have that. The reason why we have Progress is because it's so vital to have that feedback. We're, if a machine's not running well, we need to know it. Otherwise, we're propagating the lies in our schedules. So.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that would just be nuts to have that. So can this populate OFS?
Yeah. The schedule should go from e-planner either into QAD down to OFS, or directly like we do in Progress, or directly to Progress or OFS, which then update to QAD. So it kind of depends on how they plumbed up OFS, but we can either report to OFS via an XML schedule that we pass, or we push it e-planner schedule into QAD, which is probably what you do now, and then it should appear on OFS anyway.
Yeah, great.
The only stipend that OFS have in it, and we do the same with Progress, is if you started a job, you can't reschedule it on e-planner. You've got to finish that job, and then you can replace, the second job and beyond on the schedule. But if something's already been working, it's too late to reschedule at that point.
Okay, so you say they hit a snag, would they close that job out?
Yeah, the shop floor can still close the job out. If it's only half done, they can still pull it up, but you can't tell them to abandon that from the schedule. That would be a conversation with the shop floor.
Understand.
Those ones. The dashboard is very funky and cool because it sits over the top of both QED and the planning tools. Obviously, if you're using Rough Cut or Forecast Manager, we might have troubles if you're just using Excel and their aggregate data, but it allows you to drill down and both look backwards and forwards in time. And what we're finding really, really potent is being able to not just talk about where your inventory's been, but showing what your inventory is going to look like, or what your delivery performance, or what your performance to budget is going to look like with your current plan as it's planning today. People get really concerned about, oh shit, you're running overtime, that wasn't budgeted for, but hey, our sales are up, so we're still going to exceed budget in these metrics. Being able to show how that pans out at any point in time, because we're pushing the forecasting and capacity plans into the dashboard is fantastic.
Okay, so and these dashboards obviously fully customizable to
the
information that we want to see.
That's exactly right. They need to be. So we've got templates that we're using that we're finding seem to resonate, but of course it needs to be familiarised or specific to you guys. And then control towers about the process compliance, as well as things like, show me the forecasts that have changed by more than 10% from last week. Which customers, how many, etc. And compliance about processes is all done by the control tower. So I don't think that's really for you guys, because you're not talking about a disparate team all over the country. But it can be good, if you guys ever started using Forecast Manager and you had people in you guys are in South Australia, if you had people in Mornington Peninsula and other people in down in Tassie or something like that, as key account managers, and they would be able to, then you could keep a track on whether they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing in Forecast Manager, or just letting it go and that sort of stuff.
Well, that is of interest. We got someone in Victoria, someone in New South Wales, and someone in New Zealand, so be pretty handy.
Yeah, well, certainly Forecast Manager is a fraction of the cost of the Infor alternative, so worth a thought, food for thought.
Fraction of the cost might still make it expensive, though.
Well, we can't give our stuff away, but we try and be realistic.
Yeah.
So to be honest, most of our projects do deliver an ROI of under 12 months. So that might be a better way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just giving
you boys belong in sales. This is good.
Just a little bit more on MPS before we have a look at the real thing. So I'll just talk about the regions. We've got the menu system. That's totally out of position. Up here, maybe follow my cursor. This is the menu system here. Over here is if it's plugged up with rough cut, it shows you how you're tracking to your rough cut. A pre-build 2.1 million of stock running at 1.8 million with this plan. That kind of a crew is supposed to be 5. We're currently planning with 3 shifts. That kind of tracking on how you're are you on track with your rough cut. So we've found too often that people make rough cut decisions and then there's no link to what actually happens. So again, you've got to see it shouldn't be a problem, but God, it happens all the time in large companies. Yeah,
that's good. That is actually we have to do that manually at the moment, and it is something we do weekly.
Excellent! I'm pleased you're doing it. That's absolutely best practice and absolutely rare. So well done. I'm just going to move up that slide because I see a problem. That might work better.
Straight.
Yeah, so guiding targets. You can look in, one of the things that's really nice is you can switch from daily, weekly, monthly. So, for you guys, I'd expect your MPS would be in weekly buckets, and then we'll leave ePlanner to sequence to minimise cost. But if you're chunking the work in weekly buckets and we know we've got capacity and we've got material for the next couple of weeks and we can use it also to keep the material flowing to meet that forward demand, then we know we're on a winner. So we're passing an achievable schedule to ePlanner, and it will do a good job of fine-tuning to minimise the changeovers. Or we've already got our batch sizing right.
Cool.
This region is the working area, and it's where we decide the SKUs are down the left-hand side. And we've got the stock by period, in this case months, is 2011-01, 2011-02, etc. And inside, if you open up those columns, you see the opening stock on hand and the requirements. That's converted to cover. You've got units and stock cover, your requirements, your arrivals, and your plan to make, etc. for each period. And then down the bottom, we have an unlimited number of windows that we'll look through in some examples that are the constraint windows and show you what the various constraints are and issues you're going to have with this current plan unless you resolve them.
Mm-hmm.
So
how simple do you keep this constraints around? Because I remember with the model we were using at Accolade, there were just so many constraints in there that the thing didn't bloody work properly, I reckon.
What's nice is that these are unconstrained constraints, if that makes sense. ePlanner is fully constrained. But MPS, like rough cut, MPS shows you that you've got a problem, but it doesn't try and solve it for you. It allows you to solve it. The ePlanner will solve things like if you've got 3 machines that could run the job and the first or second machine are overloaded, it'll flow through and can put it onto the right one. So you don't need to worry about that group of machines. But if you haven't got enough capacity across all machines, you're screwed. So and so we set the constraints up so that they're showing you, well, all 3 machines are going to be screwed or not. But I wouldn't bother showing you each machine because you don't need to manage it at that level. So, but what's really nice is you turn it on or off, and it's an indicator to show you that the plan is not achievable. You've got a choice to make. It's not gonna. It doesn't stop you from. It doesn't stop you from planning, which is, I think, what you're alluding to, and what I tried to suggest before. I really don't like black box optimizers because they tie your hands and you spend the whole time trying to unstick the bloody model to do sensible shit.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
So look, probably what I'll do is I'll just jump to a model now, give you a sense on how it works, and then before I get into that. So within ePlanner, I'm just showing you here another customer's. You've got the master production schedule. We just run it in the same menu, but it's a different product, but they work so closely together that MPS is where I think you guys probably just do this in. How do you make your work orders now? Is that just using the MRP generated from QAD?
That's a very good question. I don't think I'm across it to that level yet.
You used to just get the MRP signal would generate a planned order, and that would appear in ePlanner. But this is where we've always seen that the more that you guys have got make to stock products, the more that MPS would be a really, really potent addition. So whether we take the planned orders out of QAD or whether we ignore them and we use our own MRP is almost a bit irrelevant. The point is that the flow goes, you get we get the demand from your Excel file. Or later, if you're using Forecast Manager, we'll get it from there. But to begin with, we use your Excel file. Do you load that into QAD? I presume you do.
Yes. Yeah.
So we load that into QAD. We'd still get that that forecast file in here. We would you'd see your forecast and you'd see your firm orders. Depending on the rules that you gave us, we'd probably consume orders as they came in. But do you guys just make to stock, or is it do you get the all orders and call ups that consume the forecast?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different things. We'll do replenishment stocks. We'll do make to stock, make to forecast, and made to order. It all comes through on the one.
Cool. Okay. So you don't need to show all this stuff, but it's very common for us to show the different streams. So here the combined requirements are 315. The forecast, or the balance of the forecast, is 79. These are in thousands, I think. No, pallets. 79 pallets. 236 pallets of orders. That gives the combined requirements 315. I'll just I'll back up a little bit and just go over what we're looking at here. So if I just go to blow molding. These are all my blow molding items. I've got a traffic light telling me where I need to pay some attention. These are the actual items themselves in a description. As I click on an individual item, over here are the periods. So I'm in weekly mode at the moment. 2017 week 30, which is 18th to the 23rd, 24th to the 30th, etc. Week 32 and so on. This is just showing me what the opening stock on hand is. I can actually open these columns up or open them all up to show. Sorry, I just did that twice. So I've opened each column up, which shows me week by week. I've got opening stock on hand of 190 pallets. We're making 86 pallets. We've got a requirement of 315, so we're going to be minus 39. We're going to be in the ship. The following week, we're making 385 pallets, which is going to take 91 hours. That's going to leave us 5 pallets and 20 and so on and so forth. The light pink shows me where I need to make to avoid red. I can just filter down and show me everything, show me every product that has sales on it or production. These are all the products that I've got to do something with. There's some sales somewhere in the future. There's 70 items there.
I can run a full DRP on this for the multi-echelon, multi-site replenishment, but I'll just run for these at the moment. This is running the MRP parameters that we've got stored here in Prophit. We have more advanced MRP parameters than QAD has. So we can do things like give me a 98% service level, or give me a safety time and a safety stop combined, or give me a family frequency.
Okay.
The kind of stuff that,
Well, that sounds cool.
The kind of stuff sounds like you've done planning for a while, Tim, and it's going to be the sort of stuff that I think that planners want and they try and do. Invariably the ERPs give you a very poor approximation of what we'd actually like. So that's been a kind of one of the bridges.
This is exactly, I'm pushing hardcore for this at the moment, because we just probably had a little bit of conflict with operations with regards to what we're trying to achieve out of the SOC process, and I'm pushing for now at the moment to be running with a 1 week buffer in the schedule, so that we can utilize logistics better, take the pressure out of the plan, this, that, and the other. So being able to demonstrate it like this would be pretty helpful.
Excellent. So what's happening when I run MRPs? There was already some work orders in there. This is already on plan in a planner. So, for example, that's 385 pallets there. There's an actual work order and it's scheduled on BM1 at 9.1 hours. Where we've got some blacks, these are planned orders, and that's what's just been scheduled. I'm just having a look to get the ones that have been planned up at the top. I can also, so these are what the system has recommended based on where we're up to. I can manually intervene at any point and say, give me 500 of those. And it said, well, that's 134 hours. There's a couple of other things that it's done in this, both when we automatically had it replenish and when I manually change things. Firstly, whatever I'm on here, it's showing me the bomb down here. I've got, these are the constraint windows, and I'll explain those in a moment, but each one has a different purpose. So down here, I've got the raw materials. So when I put in 500 here, the net requirements for each of these went up by 500 units, by 500 pallets worth. The system is doing a running tally and showing, given everything, I need 54,609 of this green pallet strapping at that point. I need 16,150 of this stretch wrap, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Where I've got a lead time like here, it's drawn the lead time in blue. This isn't giving me any massive errors yet. It's saying I need to order some of this plastic PET. That's not a problem at the moment because I don't have a lead time set up, so it's only going to get it whenever. So even though it's gone red, if I order some more of this, I'll be okay.
Oh. And is there a button on there where you see stuff like this and you can just hit like fix or get the system to run all those things in pink? Yeah,
that's effectively what I just did. So, or we could do it up here, which does it for every SKU and every raw material if we run the stage.
Yeah, cool.
So, but similarly, you may just want to go and select all purchase materials anymore.
Yeah, spot on. So you can apply a blanket approach, or you can manage it on certain levels with materials or with quantities, or so it's very customizable.
Yeah, and even though many of the products are generic for this business, and that may or may not be the case for you guys, you can still go and have a look by customer. And obviously this is consolidated stock. These are all the products this customer takes. So for Lion Drinks, they take these. So I can do the planning, and this is particularly good if you have what we call a first look process. Customer gives you a forecast, and you don't want to wait till the end of the week or the end of the month when you've rolled it up with everything else, done your plans, and then said, oh, damn, we actually, look at this, we're not going to have that material in time. So we can't satisfy them, we better go and tell them. It's like, I want to be telling them the same day that they gave me the forecast, I want to tell them that, hey, we've got a problem here, and let's work together about what we're going to do about it. But that gets offensive if you start taking a week before you get back to them.
Yep, I agree.
So, one of the things I wanted to show you was if I put a lead time on this, like on 5 days or something like that, a bit silly, but I'll put 10 days just so to make it obvious. Now, let's push the lead time out here. And what, let me squash it up. So, my lead time is out here, and I'm going to run out in week 1, but I can't get more until week 3. So it's given me a note saying, well, this material is an issue, but it's also cleverly told me, well, these are all the finished goods that have an issue because of this raw material. So it's like a where used, but it's a dynamic one while you're planning. So why this is important is that as I'm going through and I'm planning my blow molding, whichever I'm planning, I'm planning blow molding before. If I had, I can go and look for anything that's got a raw material issue. I don't have any. Yeah, I know this one I need to be very careful about planning manufacture because I've got a raw material issue on this particular one. However, I know that I can plan a little heart content on these other ones. So even though I might need to order more raw materials, I don't have any lead time violations on the raw materials, so I'm good to go.
Okay.
Unlike if I was working in SAP or QAD in detail, I'd have to go through every work order and check that out. This is just, you know, immediately say, okay, those are in jeopardy, I'm going to need to look at that. Of course, we do things like we've got alternate bombs, and you can make virtual bombs and all sorts of kooky stuff that you may need to do to get yourself out of trouble. You know, you might need to use a different size sheet or whatever your poison is, whatever you need to do for your business. But you can start applying that there.
Okay.
You have things like bomb configurators where you can go and make alternate bombs and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm getting a bit too specific. So the first thing we would normally do is check. You make your plan, we've run it, and it's replenished and told me how much I need to make. And I can go in and look at that in any particular, at any time and see what they are. But most importantly, I'm looking for, am I going to have raw material issues and do I need to solve those? If I don't need to solve those, my next question is, do I have machine capacity? So here I'm looking at this and blow molding and saying, okay, I've got an issue here in week 31. And the red's issue, I'm 113% loaded. Let's open that column up. I've got 120 hours available, and I've got 135 hours to work on BM5. So where this gets really cool is I can just go and show me everything that's currently routed on BM5. I got one work order, it's 135, but it looks like it's that manual one that I put up to 5 hours, so that's good news. I'm going to put that down to 135. If I want to, I can say, look, you know what, I want to make 120 hours. Just one order up there. So I can say, okay, look, I've only got 120 hours. How much can I make? 445. Okay, done. Now out of the danger zone. I may have needed to do other things, like I may have needed to actually move that to a different line. So okay, I can run that on BM3 as well. So I could have routed that to BM3. I can see it at a glance that BM3's got 31 hours on it. I don't want to put 120 hours on it, but I can see that here. I'll work through my capacity constraints where I'm changing the quantity that I'm making. And here I can see I had 9.9 of a week coverage when I went into this week. Coming out, I've got infinite coverage. I'm never going to use that 440 pallets, so that's clearly too much. Because I just don't have forecast. The sum as far as I can see of the forecast does not equal 444 pallets. So it would be a dumb thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not going to 0.4 of a week. So I can very quickly, and some of these auto calculators allow you to do, right? They don't have to just be hours, they can be days cover. So I can say, okay, well, I'm down to 1 day's cover, make me up to 10, 1 week's cover, make me up to 12 weeks cover. So I can go from high to low and stuff like that.
That starts to get clever then. That's good.
Yeah, but again, we try not to automate that stuff. We've got time-phased MRP parameters, but I try not to encourage people to use them because they don't drive that picture that we had before about people getting stuck in Excel. I don't want them stuck in our modelling parameters either. You just want to be able to solve the problem and move on, unless it's a recurring problem. Then you might worry about the modelling finesse. But stuff like this, where we've got, okay, we've got a peak load on BM5 and a peak load on 167. Let's just get in there and solve these. So I'm 80 hours over on BM5, filtered for BM5. That 500 is netted because my opening stock goes to 0. If you're ever wondering what the conditional formatting is, you can just right-click on the column and you can see what the conditional format is. And you guys can set these up, or you can alter them at any time. So we have default ones that we set up for you, but we'll show you how to modify these. And you'll recognise it's just like Excel, or not just like, but it's very similar to Excel. So, but the nice part is you can see what it means. So the green means multiple routes. So, okay, that means I can run this on another machine. BM6 is got plenty of capacity on it. So I'll move that to BM6. So I'm now only 20 hours over. If that's also green, I can move this bad boy as well.
Yeah. That is one thing that I like about ePlanner is the ease at which you can just shuffle things through the lines.
Good. Good, yeah. It does our head in that most of the time you're fighting master data in most systems. It's like, it shouldn't be that hard. So,
yeah.
So we've resolved that now. Obviously, there's another constraint here, but does that give you a sense on how you might use it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be good to probably have another call when Grace is
Available.
Grace is here as well. Yeah, she would normally be here, but just this week she's got some time off.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. We can also show you what your warehouse is looking like if external warehouse is a problem. I'd imagine once it's converted at sheets, it's probably not a big issue for you, but I imagine once it's turned into caps, you've got considerable volume limitations on what you can store.
Yeah. So how does okay, so we currently run that through QAD. Okay.
I'm recording this session too, so as a prelim, we can actually show this to Grace, or we'll give you a shortcut that you can share it with Grace, so that she can come armed with any other questions she's got.
Okay, cool. I better try and sound clever then.
And you're doing well.
Too kind.
So again, these can be turned on or off. They can be applied to anything. The last thing you want is something that's not useful, so we turn them off if they're not going to work for you. But yeah, fundamentally, it's well, we've got what's currently on plan, and then we've got what else we need to make. And we give you the way that you want to work to it. So showing you in days or weeks cover and so on. And it's not uncommon for us to show color code these and show you where it's getting overstocked. So, high days cover like this. So, but we'll configure all of this with you to, do you want to set it to maximum stock levels? Do you want to set it to maximum safety time levels? We'll expose the parameters that you use. If you've got a half decent forecast, I always prefer to use safety time and stock cover. But some people just kind of really feel more comfortable with static numbers. So, it's not important what I like, it's what it's important that you guys like. So we configure that. And at any time we can turn these on or off, or you don't need to show safety stock if you're not going to use it, or frequency of manufacture. But if you are going to use them, you can quickly go and see this. I wonder what happens if we took all of our blow fill for line 5, everything that we run on line 5, and we only made that every 2 weeks. So I could do a replace frequency of 14. And I can say, well, at the moment, the plan's closing at a stock level of 66. Let me do that for all line 5. Sorry, I just had a filter on, which wasn't a smart thing to do.
All good.
So if we want to, there's one of the 24 items here, and if we want to see what happens if we run them all on a 2-week cycle. So now if I run the replenishment, so instead of having 66 pallets, I'm going to have 142 pallets. And if I counted up the number of work orders that I'm making, then I can compare that and tell you, well, you're going to have, for example, half the number of changeovers, and it's going to cost you 80 pallets. So half the number of changeovers, what's that worth to the business? I can guarantee you it's going to be worth more than the 80 pallets that of stock that we're going to hold.
Yeah.
So doing that scenario, trying to do that in Excel would just do your head in. I mean, sorry, it does my head in. You might be able to do it, but doing it in a tool like this, and the interesting thing is because it's in a tool that looks a bit more rugged and robust and is a bit more rugged, but it looks it too. It tends to gain a lot more credibility from the manufacturing crowd who might otherwise be saying, oh, look, we've done our lean, we know, don't talk to me about stock or anything like that. We'll just do SMED and we'll be fine. It's always said by people who haven't done SMED before. Anyway, I digress. Can you see how you might use that for firstly, valuing some of the challenges that you're having at the moment, and secondly, actually implementing those policies?
Well, I think it'd be, I think Grace runs something similar. I'm just trying to get your screen onto my big screen. Can't see how I can do it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, look, we run these type of scenarios all the time because the customers place a forecast. I mean, what's the average thing? We're getting about 40 orders a day as an average, and then we're getting 10 changes to these orders a day as well.
Yep.
So it's very dynamic, and being able to offer up these quick trade-offs rather than spending a lot of time trying to run the simulations would be good.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that was quick. What was that, about 8 seconds or something, and you've got your answer, if that. So
yeah.
So how would I suppose the big thing for me is how would the demand be managed? So we've got a forecast. So we've got 5 key account managers.
Yep.
How would they push through their demand, or how does it, would they be working on the system, or is it still dependent upon a feed-in document, say on Excel, to drive?
Yeah, our multi-user, this is a planning tool. So we're deciding how much to make, and you don't want your key account managers putting in how much to make. We do want them putting in how much to order. If it's a forecast, by design of our products, we would go into Forecast Manager. I have no problem at all with it going into Excel to begin with, while we try and see if we can, whether there's a business case for Forecast Manager. Sorry, I had the presentation open before. There it is. So in Forecast Manager, for example, if multi-users are in this concurrently, and there's templates for them to suck up, they can either send a list to the customer of what the customer's ordering, or they can, or the customer can have their own preferred template, and they just send through their forecasts as they go. Orders, I'd suggest going to QAD as normal because you've got to make sure they're getting paid and shipped and so on. But
Yep.
the forecast should go in the forecast manager. And then at any time that you do a load into MPS, it draws dynamically out of forecast manager. If you've got your Excel spreadsheet, that if you put that into QAD, that would still go into QAD and we draw it out on a daily basis. We can draw it out on demand, but most common at AMP or Orora is that we'd have it like now. There's no ePlanet gets it from an overnight run, gets what was in the forecast and what was on order. So we'd probably, initially we'd plumb it up that way, so to continue the way that you're going now. But if forecast manager was something that you were serious about, then that's a great way of pulling the data in. It's this, the key account managers load up the customer forecast immediately, and if they're putting in their own opinion, but it's not coming from the customer, but it's on behalf of the customer, then they put that in their override line as that's their input. It's very quick to do. They can go and say, "Oh, look, it's Mars. They haven't given me a forecast, but last year they took 24,000 this month, and I don't want to worry about breaking down and skew. They're putting 24,000. It will disaggregate across their historical usage, and away they go." Did you want me to show you Forecast Manager, or should we come back to that? In fact, I'm out of time, but I'd be more than happy to show you Forecast Manager because that's that piece. What I like to do, and it fits in with our, we believe that the executive demand review is the right way of making sure that we get a good collaborative forecast with all the different inputs being considered. And if we try and do that in Rough Cut or in MPS, we find magically that the demand and the capacity coalesce, where if we just do our very best job at deciding how much we really think that the customers want, put a full stop under that, and they continually update that, by all means, with customer forecast or market intelligence assets available. But that process is divorced from the manufacturing process, or the numbers get very confused, and whether we're looking at what we're going to sell or what the customer wants becomes very, very confusing. So we like to separate that process quite cleanly.
Yeah, good. It'd be nice to have a management tool around forecast. All right. Yeah. Well, most things we talked about there would have some use in what we're doing and where we're trying to head. So, look, I'll have a chat with Grace and find out when she's coming back.
Great.
And then, we'll probably break this down into a bit more detail. For me, it's more of a high level, and just seeing your train of thought and how the things are working for me seems to be what we're trying to do. But Grace will be very much more the tactician and go, no, this doesn't suit our needs, or this will. So,
sure.
But for all intents and purposes at this stage, I think it's quite good and
Good.
readily fit in.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I'd like to think it would. We've certainly, we've been around Orora long enough to understand what doesn't work. I think we're on track with what you guys need, and certainly it has to be pragmatic. It's got to be useful, and it's got to have a quick payback. So we get all of that.
Yes. Yeah, and not necessarily in that order.
Indeed. Let's start with a quick payback.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool. All right. Well, that's been good, Tim. So thank you. And thanks, Rob. You're just about to get onto a flight?
No, I'm actually at the Food Pro exhibition in Sydney. So, just catching up with some people here. But look, would it be helpful if I sent through tomorrow morning, first thing, a brochure on Forecast Manager and a brochure on MPS?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. So then I could sit and have a chat with Grace. I mean, she very well understands my train of thought and where I'm trying to head, and she's very much aligned. So, and I would talk her through that, and then we could certainly have another hookup like this where she can start to see, just exactly what the machine's capable of and how that's going to help us reach those objectives, or otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah, and it sounds like if I touch base mid next week and when we try and organise that time, does that sound
Yeah,
Doable?
that sounds like a good time. Yep.
Excellent.
Great.
Right, Tim, really appreciate your time. I will send you, when I figure out how to put this up on the cloud, I'll send you a link to the Zoom meeting so you can, when Grace has got some time, she can flick through it.
All right, that'd be excellent. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Tim.
Excellent.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, Sam.
I know.
All right,
Cheers.
talk soon. Bye-bye.